to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and back from Nashville, Tennessee for a Philadelphia Union 2-1 come-from-behind victory over Nashville. I mean, it's so weird that they're not called anything, right? Just Nashville. But what a fantastic trip. A trip of a lifetime, really. And it's an honor. It's a pleasure. I told you guys today's guest, he was going to be joining me. And before I introduce him, in case you guys don't even know who I'm talking about, I'll give a plug out for the One Team We Agree On, Kyle and Jillian Almany's podcast. I was on the show Monday night. That episode was released Tuesday morning. And we talked about my trip to Nashville. And so the way this show is going to work is I'm going to go ahead and talk about my trip again with today's guest. And we'll talk about the game, get into the ins and outs, what we liked, what we didn't like, and whatever else we decide to get into. But joining me, I think this is the very first time any of you guys have heard this guy, unless you listen to some of the bonus content way at the beginning of the podcast since I switched over from the Premier League to covering the Philadelphia Union. He is my good pal, Cem Toygar. Cem, how you doing?
Hello, Todd. I'm good, man. I'm very good. I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate the invite. And I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to get this podcast going and also talk about our trip to Nashville.
Yeah, me too, man. Still buzzing off of that. I mean, you had a 7-8 hour flight, so it's like, talk about jet lag, where I feel like I don't even know if you honestly ever got used to the 6 hour time difference from England to Nashville, but somehow, some way, you made it on 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, waking up early in the morning, meeting us for breakfast, going out, and then partying at night. Somehow you're alive, and you're alive now. You're struggling a little bit, but people don't see you, so That's good, right? They don't need to see what you look like.
No, yeah, that's right. I mean, I soldiered it. I can say that I soldiered it. I think, like you said, I must have survived on 3 or 4 hours of sleep a day because of the jet lag and the time difference and stuff. But look, we were on vacation, so there's no stopping us. We're there to have a good time. We're not there to sleep all day long. So that's what we did. We went out and had a good time, saw the sights, and went out partying at night.
It's so funny too, right? Because for people who may not be aware, it was me, you, my sister Shelby, and then my friend Brad met us on Saturday, and into Sunday he went home. But Shelby and I have never been to Nashville before. We've never been to Tennessee. Brad's from Knoxville, so yeah, he's from Tennessee. He's been to Nashville a couple of times, but you, out of all of us, have been there the most recent. You've been there last year and I think the year prior. And so you were pretty much our tour guide, even though you're not even from America.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was my third trip to Nashville. Probably will be my last trip in a while because I think I'm all Nashville'd out now. But I love Nashville so much. That's why when you said, hey, we're going to go watch the Philadelphia Union game at Nashville, because I wasn't able to, get a flight to come and see you, I just thought it would be perfect timing. And I love Nashville. I love the lifestyle, the food there, the drink there. The people are generally really friendly as well. I've made some good friends there over the years who have also looked after me. We've all looked after each other, and that's what it's all about. So I can say I've got some good, solid friendships from my trip to Nashville, as well as my friendship with you as well, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. I think I would have rather have had you come to Nashville than to you to come to Baltimore or Philadelphia to watch a game at Subaru Park. I mean, Subaru Park's a fantastic venue, but I don't know, it's all about like traveling and meeting new people, and that's exactly what we did. I mean, look, you ran into people that you knew prior from trips, and they looked after you, and we can get into that. But you also made a lot of new friends too this trip, and having you bring me, yeah, exactly, having you pull me out of my comfort zone, just following your lead. It's like, all right, this guy's the icebreaker, and that's exactly what you did this trip. But when you look at this trip as a whole, you got there Tuesday, left Sunday night. And I guess we'll start with what happened with you on Sunday night with your trip back to London, which is really, really cool. Who you were on the plane with?
Yes. So I get to the airport. I thought I'm the first person in the queue checking in and checking my checked luggage in. And I look up, and right in front of me is Ledley King with his colleagues and assistants. and I recognised him straight away. I met Ledley King many years ago at a friend's wedding. Ledley knows a guy that's married to one of my friends that I used to work with many, many years ago at Foot Locker, funny enough, at the flagship branch at Oxford Street in London. So they're good friends. And I was fortunate to be the photographer when I was doing wedding photography at the time. And I was taking photos of Ledley King at my friend's wedding with his other half. And that was the first time I had seen him since then. So I just went up to him and went, "Oh, Ledley." I said, "How are you? You know, how's your missus and all that?" And he was pretty cool. He was like, "Yeah, good, blah, blah, blah." And then I just asked him, "What is this, business or pleasure?" Because obviously it became apparent that they were here because of the Premier League exhibition that they were doing in Nashville. He wasn't the only one there. I also bumped into Jolien Lescott, who's also on my flight, all on the first class section, obviously. And I had a little joke with Jolien Lescott as well, because one of the flight attendants bumped into him by accident with her bum. And she's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." And he was like, "No, that's fine." And I just went, "No, she done that deliberately." And I gave him a wink, and then he started laughing. So that was cool. But yeah, it's not every day you get well-known sports personalities or celebrities on the same flight as you. So that was a nice experience, and they were just generally friendly and they were lovely. Obviously, I didn't disturb them too much because I didn't want to attract unnecessary attention to them and stuff. But yeah, it was a lovely touch on the way home back to London.
It is. I mean, to be on a flight with those guys for 7-8 hours. I mean, it's a long time to be in the same place with them. And like you said, they were in first class. You were not, unfortunately. But, I think this is a great transition because if they would have seen how you were treated in Nashville, then I think maybe British Airways would have put you in first class too. I mean, I said this on Kyle and Jillian's podcast. It is insane. Absolutely insane, the treatment that you got us. And I said this, this is all credit to you. If it was just me and other Americans or just me and Shelby, we're not getting the same treatment that you got. And so this is all credit to you. It's like they rolled out the red carpet for you, might as well give you the crown, called you Sir Jem, and called it a night. And that's exactly what happened in Nashville, I feel like, for you.
Yeah, well, I can't take the full credit though, because I can't do it without the help of other people and their willingness to help me. So obviously, you know who you are, who did make my vacation more comfortable. And but I will put a shout out to Kira. She was amazing how she looks after me. She always looks after me when I go over there, and made sure that we had the VIP section when we was at the I think it's called Henrietta's Rooftop Bar, part of the One Hotel. What a class rooftop bar in Nashville. And we were treated like kings and queens there, me, you and Shelby up there. And then obviously you got to meet the general manager, LJ, there as well. It was a great time. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And it was just lovely for them to be able to do that for us.
So let's actually go ahead and rewind this story a little bit prior how we got here. It looked like for a little bit, I think you were a little bit worried too, that it looked like we might not come out with you because we were supposed to meet, I think at like 8:30 or something you said, and we got there at like 8:40 or whatever. They still kept our table for us. And the whole reason that we might not have got there is because prior to us going to the One Hotel, Shelby and I were walking around Vanderbilt University because we both stayed at the same apartment, the Sonder in Hillsborough. But when you checked out is technically when we were checking in, even though our room wasn't ready yet. And so you were going to meet a friend for lunch. And so we said, well, we have time to kill. So we walked from Hillsborough apartment all the way around Vanderbilt University, walking downtown Nashville towards Broadway, went to the Country Music Hall of Fame. And there was a lot of walking for Shelby. And so Shelby, for people who don't know, when she was in middle school, broke her pelvis, never got surgery for it. The doctor said, yeah, she won't need surgery. Definitely should have got surgery. And so Shelby, after the day, could not walk anymore. And so we had walked up to the grocery store and got her some like heating pads and whatnot to see if that would help and everything. And so she said after like 30 minutes, she's like, all right, I'm good to go. We can go out. And so we did actually come out, but it looked for a little bit there that we might not come out. And I think you were like, well, this sucks because, there's one night wasted and, we got to take advantage of these moments of us being together. But we showed up. And that's what it's all about. I mean, like you said, Kira, LJ, all those guys at the hotel took care of us with the VIP lounge, with access to the rooftop. And it was a very, very lovely night to take pictures out on the rooftop and the lounge and just overlook the city of Nashville. And um, you got the sense, right, that it was a different clientele at this place compared to what Nashville typically is. But hey, look, it didn't stop us from having a good time. I think, that's what we needed to get the night starting, a little calm, cooling presence. And throughout the night, somebody came up to you and said, hey, I get you guys VIP access at Pushing Daisies if you guys get there in 30 minutes. And oh my God, dude. Like the night did not stop. We go from one VIP lounge to another VIP lounge. Insane.
Yeah, there was a girl called Haley, bless her. She came up to me and she just seemed so lovely, really friendly. And that's what she said, literally. And then we was like, oh, right, well, where's Pushing Daisies? Because the last couple of times I've been to Nashville, it was not there. So it was a new venue that I had not heard about. So that was a new venue for me to explore with you guys. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? What's it like? And then she was like, it's fun. The music's good. It's upmarket. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's go. And we made our way over and they sat us down in the VIP booth. And the rest was history, really. I mean, we made some new friends in there as well, didn't we, Todd?
Yeah, we did. Shout out to Kylie and Laura. If we're giving people shout outs, might as well give more shout outs here. But even before we went into the bar, the bouncer, the guy who's checking everybody else in, he asked for the name on the list and he can't find us. And you're like, oh yeah, we know, blah, blah, blah. And so he's like, all right, I'll send her a text and she'll be up. And that person wasn't getting back to him. And so he texted another manager, but then the person we were trying to get into contact with eventually did come up. And the guy said to you, he's like, yeah, you guys look like you're VIP. And so he's like, just stand over to the side to me. By the way, to give you guys a glimpse, if you guys haven't seen pictures I posted online, I didn't look VIP. This guy 100% looked VIP. So I don't know what he was talking about. But hey, look, I guess he was essentially right. We were there because they said, if you go to Pushing Daisies, you'll get VIP access. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and I will say it was a great night there. I did enjoy it. Part of me was like, I wish we stayed there a little longer. I think we didn't stay there long enough. But nevertheless, we had a good time there. And then obviously I moved on to another venue when you decided to retire for the night. But yeah, that was such an enjoyable, great experience. And to have table service like that, not even have to queue at the bar to get a drink was fantastic. What a great experience. So highly recommend anyone going to Nashville, go to Pushing Daisies. And I also highly recommend to go to the Rooftop One Hotel because they are amazing people over there.
Yeah, it's the one thing that I texted you afterwards. I'm like, damn, dude, I should have stayed out here longer with you. But look, it was coming up to 24 hours with me being awake without any sleep. So I was like, man, I've got to go back, get some sleep. And it sucks. Like, I'm like, dang it, dude, should have just sucked it up. Because I did wind up only getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep anyway with going back by the time that the Uber came and everything. And then you finally get into your hotel and it takes you a while to get to rest in a new place. But I'm like, damn, dude, I should have stood with you and just sucked it up and we could have went around. Then Saturday comes, obviously, and we go to the zoo, we go to the game, and we go out to the bar again. And I don't know, for me, it felt like it was getting a little bit hostile in there. I feel like maybe people were a little bit on the edge. People maybe were getting a little bit annoyed just because everybody was on top of each other. And there was moments throughout the night where, yeah, it was opened up. We could walk around, no issues. But then there were some times when big groups of people came in and now you're literally wall to wall with people. And I said this, I don't know if I told you this, but I was like, it's 1:30. I think when I departed, I'm like, my awareness is going down just because I'm a little bit tired. And I didn't see the point of staying out there when I can't be aware of my surroundings. I feel like that doesn't make for a good time. So I was like, yeah, I'm calling it a night. And then you texted me 15 minutes later. Yep, I left too. But it's crazy. As soon as we left the venue, a whole bunch of cops came rushing through because people were fighting outside on Broadway. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But I mean, Saturday was good too, but I think Friday was 100% like the highlight of the trip.
I agree. The highlight for me. Friday was better than Saturday, and I was getting London vibes in Nashville this weekend. Like as you said, it got a little bit aggressive in some of the venues and stuff. The later it got, and I don't remember Nashville to be like that. Normally, the busier it gets, people are like, oh, who are you with? Oh, we're with our group of friends. Who are you with? This is our group of friends. Yeah, let's all hang out together. And it's just very, very positive energy normally. This time round, compared to the last couple of times, I think people are getting very, they're getting their backs up a lot more and making assumptions that they shouldn't be making and stuff. But that could be Broadway for you. I'm sure if you go to East Nashville or any other place apart from Broadway, it's kind of like Central London. That's why people don't go out in Central London anymore, because of that aggressiveness and hustle and bustle. People prefer to go to, say, North London or South London for bars and clubs, because it's not as, it's not as troublesome in some aspects. But we still had a good time though, nevertheless. And I still highly recommend anyone who's not done Nashville. They've got to do the Broadway for the experience for sure. Anyway, they've got to do that. But Nashville's more than just Broadway. That's the thing that you've got to learn. There's the other side of the river going to East Nashville. Germantown is amazing for restaurants, especially upmarket restaurants. So yeah, like so much to do. Much to do.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And like even the area that we were staying in, Hillsborough, it's about 2.5 miles away from Broadway. And there's a lot of like cute little shops around there, a lot of like food places to try out. I like how they have the street market where they sell vintage clothes. You walk like 2 miles up the road to go to Belmont University. It's the same thing there, just more little shops and everything. So like the area where we stayed at that you recommended couldn't have been any better, because Shelby and I were talking about, we're like, yeah, we're going to stay in Franklin. That looks to be the cheapest hotels. And it's about a 20-minute drive from everything that we want to do. If we would have stayed 20 minutes away, I think we would have been miserable, just because that's a lot of driving back and forth. And just staying where we stayed at, it worked out. So I think overall, this was a fantastic trip. Getting to meet you in person for the very first time, having Brad come and meet us for his birthday weekend. And shout out Brad, by the way. Today's Tuesday. It's your birthday.
Shout out Brad.
Happy birthday. Happy
birthday, Brad.
So, I mean, it just made it enjoyable, right? I mean, just us three, and then add Shelby to the mix too, even though, she could barely walk. It was like, let's get her a prosthetic leg or wrap her up in bubble wrap and we can just roll her down the street and she'll be good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, just overall, it was a really, really good time. And I enjoyed, the game and just everything that Nashville had to offer. And, I feel like Nashville's a town where you said, there's Germantown, East Nashville, like there's so much to do that I feel like we didn't even get to experience it all.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, there's probably loads of places that I've not been in the 3 years that I've been there, but as you say, like when you go for a short period of time, you kind of have to be selective, what you can or can't do within that time frame that you've got there, and we needed to make things work logistically for us in terms of where you were staying, where I was staying, make the most of the hours of the day. So, but yeah, I love Nashville. I would go again. I'd recommend it, but as I said, it's been my third trip now, so I think I'll lay off going for a while now.
People can change your mind, though. All it takes is some people say, hey, we want to see you again, and, well, there you go, on a plane back to Nashville. But I think, we agreed, Denver, next time you come to the United States, so... Yeah,
I think Todd, we got to do Denver, and...
I'll show you around. You showed me around Nashville, I'll show you around Denver.
You showed me around in Colorado, Denver, yeah, that'd be amazing. At one time, I'd like to do Utah as well, but my main place I really, really want to go after, especially that you've been there, Colorado, hands down.
Lovely city, love Denver. So we'll see when that trip happens. But I also got to get over to London, or it doesn't even have to be London. I mean, yeah, that's convenient to you, but I feel like any country in Europe's convenient for you. So I don't know, that's got to be the next goal, is to get over there and see you. And then somebody, shout out Limval, hopefully he doesn't flake this time and he can meet us on a trip. So, but overall,
we can hopefully we can get Limbo out, whether if it's in the UK or anywhere in Europe, like a little city break, and he hasn't got an excuse, then hopefully he can come out with us.
So I know he's going to listen to this. You missed out on a completely wild time, Limval. You would have been in heaven, especially Friday night. The treatment that we got, like, I don't think this guy would have fell asleep once. I think he would have pulled an all-nighter. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that Philadelphia Union game. So this is actually your second MLS game. You went last year to the Nashville-Portland game. You met up with some people and you said you were going to an MLS game, or they said they were going to it. I forget how that worked out, but regardless, like you guys winded up going to the game together. And what a boring game you saw last year. You had an idea of who Nashville are, and so you have an experience with MLS, but this is your first time seeing the Philadelphia Union, and that's a team that I hold dear to my heart. Obviously, do the podcast, and that was the first time that I've sat with the supporters since 2022 when I went to Atlanta with Brad and his kid, Anderson, and Caitlin, his girlfriend, and Shelby came on that trip too. So that's the last time I sat with fans, and I was like, everybody's coming out, not going to go in the press box, stay with you guys. And what would you make of like the traveling Union fans there? Because in my opinion, just with past away games, unless it's the local games, you don't really get that many people traveling. I thought it was a decent amount of Union fans that traveled there. Colorado had a lot last year too, but Nashville, it was well packed, I thought.
When I first got there, because I arrived there before you did, all I could see was bright yellow shirts and Nashville fans. And I'm like, oh, am I the only Philly Union supporter here? Where are they? And it turns out I was on the wrong side of the stadium, not on the away side. I was at the home side, the entrance at the front. But yeah, that wasn't my first trip to Geodis Park. That was my second trip. First trip that I had watched was Nashville against Portland Timbers. That wasn't a great game at all. I think it was a ball draw, that game. And so I kind of know a little bit what Nashville is or was about. But I also, although I hadn't watched Philadelphia Union live, through talking to you and listening to your podcast and on social media, get a rough idea of Philadelphia Union's philosophy and how they are as a team. And I was hopeful that Philly Union would get an easy win until we discovered something which we'll talk about later on in the podcast when you come to it, because we were both taken aback with how Philly started that game. But yeah, like going back to your question, in the end, where we were sitting with all the fans, that was a decent turnout. Everyone was very friendly. Everyone was chanting together and taking turns with different Philadelphia Union chants. And, I don't know how many people was in that stadium. I mean, it was really loud with all the Nashville supporters, but we held our own in that small corner of away supporters. So much so Carranza looked up and symbolically played the guitar with a corner flag, looking up at us and acknowledging our support to us. So that was actually a cool touch there, definitely, for sure. But yeah, it was a good crowd. And as I said, they held their own supporting them.
Yeah, I agree too. The funny thing, I said this again, shout out Kyle and Jillian, but I don't know if you look to our right. So I don't know why they do this in America. I don't think it's like this in England or anywhere in Europe at all. But every time in America, they always put the away supporters section and the family section. I don't know why they do that. That can only cause issues. But these little kids to us were like flipping us off, cussing at us when the Union were losing. And they were like, Union suck, Union suck. I was like, what? Like, the balls on these kids. Like, we can't say cuss words, but these little kids can cuss us out, give us the finger. And then as soon as the Union scored the first goal, they quieted down. But man, as soon as Gazak scored in the 90th minute, I gave this one kid the biggest death stare. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, this kid's just flipping me off all game. And I'm just looking at him like, yeah, what's up about it? And then this one other kid has his head down in his coat. He's crying in his coat. I'm like, damn, like, these kids were all about it all game long, giving us crap, which is fine. I'm here for it. But then, if you can give it, you got to take it too. And yeah, these kids could not take it, which we didn't cause to do anything. I just give them a death stare. And yeah, they were not happy with how Nashville played and blew that game. But I'm not surprising, honestly, because prior to this game, the game starting, the lineups got announced. So Nashville opted to go with Panico in net over Joe Willis, who's normally their normal starter. He missed last game because he got a red card against LAFC, so he didn't play last game. And then Gary Smith, the Nashville manager, opted for Joe Willis to stay on the bench for this game against the Union. Nerando Leal, who plays in the midfield for them, played in 26 games last year, over 1,400 minutes played. He's been injured this year, so hasn't played. Tyler Boyd, another midfielder, 8 appearances so far this season, 537 minutes played so far the year. He missed out on injury. Shaq Moore, their starting right back, and then Walker Zimmerman, their captain and starting center back, did not play in this game. And Philadelphia Union had no Andre Blake. Jim Curtin said after the game that Andre actually cleared concussion protocol, but then at the end of practice took a shot to the face, and the Union kept him out for precautionary reasons since he did have a concussion. He passed his test, so it's like, let's be safe rather than sorry and something bad happened. So they kept Andre out for this game. And then Mikal Uor, one of their starting strikers, was out with a foot injury. So both teams had starting players missing in this game. And I said to you, I think, you're missing players in your spine. Like, this is a game the Union have to win. Like, no excuses. They've got to win this game. Nashville's not a good team. And we saw that. And I think you saw that too last year when you saw them. Like, Nashville's a team that plays cowardly. They sit in low blocks. They don't really attack. They don't really have attacking talent. And I said, okay, well, they're missing 2 huge players defensively. You've got to take advantage of that. And the first half, I mean, I think both of you and I were fed up. You asked the question. You said, if the Union are getting blown out, do you guys stay for the whole game or do fans leave? And I said, yeah, people stay for the most part. So maybe you thought the Union were about to get blown out there, but they only conceded the 1 goal in the first half, which they shouldn't have conceded at all. Let's be clear. That came with no pressure in the midfield, and we can go ahead and talk about that goal right away if you want.
Yeah, I mean, look, what I'll say is I don't know why, but Philadelphia Union gave Nashville too much respect, and they weren't on the front foot, Philadelphia Union. They were sitting back, kind of like a flimsy low block themselves. And, going back to that, first goal, they were sitting back. There wasn't enough work rate in central midfield for closing down. And there was not a single tackle by a Philly Union player until that ball got near to just outside the 18-yard box and then was crossed into the 6-yard box where it was headed in. And the goalkeeper doesn't even command his area. I mean, he didn't even come out to call for the ball. At 6 yards, he should be able to come out and claim that in the air. The fact that they were sitting back, then allowed Nashville to cross that corner outside the 18-yard box and then header it in from the 6-yard box with poor defending. Why are they sitting back like that? Why are they not showing a bit more tenacity and a bit more aggression, wanting to win that ball back? But for some reason, it looks disjointed for Philadelphia Union, especially in that first 22 minutes. And there was not enough movement with transition from defence to attack when they did win the ball. They did well to keep it 1-0 the first half, but we both looked at each other and we said, hey, if this stays the same, then it's either going to be another ball draw or Philly are going to lose this when they should be winning this. They've got a better team than Nashville. They should be winning this game. And we said from the start, the shape looked wrong. And it just wasn't working. That 3 at the back, or a 5. Did you say 5 at the back? You said, right? Sometimes it looked like there was no 5 players at the back. They were exposed to 2 players at times at the back, and they were getting skinned when Nashville was, pressing into the final third of their defensive area. So I think they struggled with the shape. Philadelphia Union, they weren't comfortable with it. And I was asking you about it, and you were like, normally, if I recall right, Jim Curtin has said in the past that you like to soak up the pressure first and keep it at a respectable scoreline, and maybe in the second half push on. And I just thought that, for me personally, that's negative. That's negative football for me. You should be on the front foot, trying to get ahead as quickly as possible and be out of sight by the first half, in my opinion.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, the Union didn't create a ton of chances in the first half, but the chances that they did create, which came off of a quick throw-in, if I'm recalling correctly, they had a long ball out of the back, and then the Union broke on a 3-on-3, which led to a Quinn Sullivan shot. And then they had another fast breakaway with Sullivan, which the shot gets blocked by McNaughton. But not many attacks from the Union. But you said this. You said even with those limited attacks, Nashville doesn't want to defend. Like, they look scared to defend. And so it's like, why
Correct.
aren't you going at these guys? Why are you showing them too much respect to coming prior into this match? Nashville only had 7 goals scored, where you compare that to the Unions, who are up there with one of the highest scoring teams. They had 10 goals coming to this match in 5 games played. So that's averaging 2 goals a game. So, I mean, you knew the quality was there for the Union, that they can score goals, but it didn't look like that was going to happen in the first half. It's like, we said to each other, the midfield's getting overrun. Hani Mukhtar, who was playing as a striker, was constantly dropping deep into the midfield, and now you have a man advantage. If you're a Nashville fan, a Nashville player, it's a man advantage in the midfield. It's 4 against 3, and nobody was getting pressure on the ball. They were just allowing Nashville to pass around way too comfortably, and it's what led to that goal. It's nobody got closed down quick enough, and then once that ball gets swung from right to left, you're not closing down the crosser. He does a couple step overs. Jack Elliott, the center back there for the Union, loses search in the box, and then he has a free header. That doesn't happen if you get pressure on the ball. But you allow players to slow down the play, pick up the head, just pass the ball around. And maybe the Union look at it as, okay, well, yeah, we're keeping the players in front of us. But it's like, put pressure on the ball. Like, don't let them just command inside your area, especially a team that has no attacking talent. And then they get a garbage goal. And I was so annoyed by that. And I told you before the game that, yeah, the Union typically play a 4-4-2 diamond. You're right. I did tell you that Jim Curtin always says they want to get to the half when they're playing away, 0-0, and then they go for it in the second half. But I didn't agree with this formation. Playing 3 in the back when you're attacking, 5 when you're defending. I mean, there was moments, like you said, it didn't even look like they were playing a back 5. You're leaving just your 3 center backs back there, and your wing backs are pushed up too high, and nobody's getting pressure on the ball. And now, in my opinion, Jim Curtin gives praise to the 3 center backs and says that we have great center backs. We can play this formation. But I think they're just more comfortable playing their diamond formation than they are playing in the 3 in the back, 5 in the back, whatever you want to call it. It just didn't look good at all. And
honestly, I think he got lucky, if you don't mind me saying. And Damien Lowe helped in that first half. If Damien Lowe didn't make the interceptions that he made in that first half, it might have been 2 or 3.
100%. I mean, the only player that looked like he was hustling all game. I mean, for me, once we get into 3 stars, I mean, I think Damien Lowe was the Union's best player on the night. He had chances off of set pieces, but defensively, the only player that really showed out in the first half, in my opinion, with blocks, interceptions, ball recoveries, tracking runners, and everything. Everybody else was just lackadaisical, just walking around, like I said, no pressure on the ball. And that's exactly why you concede the goal that you conceded. But Jim Curtin, after the game, was asked, do you think this was the right formation to play? How do you think the formation played against Nashville in the first half of the game? And then in the second half, they switched back to the diamond. And this is what Jim Curtin had to say on the formation and then the formation change.
Yeah, look, I think when you look at the first half, it was kind of a nothing half, right, Matt? There wasn't a ton for us. We certainly didn't create a lot. And if you get in at halftime with a 0, you say, I think the formation and the plan worked well. When you make a mistake and you concede the way we did, then you start to have a little bit of doubt. So not a ton of creation in that formation in the first half, but at the same time, didn't give up a lot. So I think there were some positives and some negatives. It's still something I think we can go to against a certain opponent. The thinking was, they played the same formation as us, and we wanted to mirror them, make it hard against a team that is at home and needs to push the game. Hope was they would leave a little more space in behind. They played with 3 really solid defensive-minded midfielders as well and clogged the middle, so it was difficult for us to break them down. So you got kind of a stalemate in the first half there. And I thought second half, we went back to the diamond. Guys, look, you guys know, in that formation, we're certainly the roles are clear for our guys because we've been really good at it for the last 6 years, and we know the spacing a little bit better. So I would say it both formations showed some good things. Certainly the diamond is still our number one, and it proved well tonight, and the guys really stuck with things, and I thought deserved the win. It's not easy to go on the road and create as many chances as we did in the second half there, and come away with a big 3 points.
So I'll go ahead and argue his last point that he just made, that it's not easy to go on the road and create as many chances as they did, which, he's not wrong in my opinion. But when you're this Nashville team that has the injuries they had in this game, a team that, we've talked about it already, did not want to defend, I think it is easy to create chances against a team like that. Like, you should be creating these chances. You should be getting 3 points. I mean, there was a moment in the game where chanting, "Hey, Union, we want 3 points," because the 3 points were there for the taking. Nashville, after they got their goal, they didn't create anything else. If I'm correct, in the second half, Nashville only had 2 shots all game. Like, they did not want to play in this game. 4 shots in the second half. Nashville was not good at all. And it's like, they showed way too much respect. And you heard Jim Curtin say it there, that, the formation, the spacing, we're just not used to playing this formation. We're comfortable. The diamond will always be our formation. And my question to him would have been, well, why didn't you start with his formation? Like, I think the first half would have been completely different if they would have played the diamond.
Agreed. I mean, what he said there, word for word, the roles are clear in the diamond. The roles are clear in the diamond. Does that mean that the roles are not clear in the other formation that he was playing? And you could see it because it was disjointed. It was a disjointed performance. I mean, as a manager, he's going to say, look, at the end of the day, after 90 minutes, if we've not lost and we've won, I've done the right job. That's how he's going to see it as a manager. But if you was at the game and you was watching that in real time, that first half was appalling. It was poor. And we'll probably get onto this in a second, and I don't want to, run ahead with anything, but if Wagner did not get injured, I think that forced the change back to the 4-4-2 diamond. Otherwise, Jim Curtin might have been stubborn and kept it as it was, and then there might have been W's in the game, and that's the truth.
I agree. I think we saw as soon as Wagner goes out, who you could see was clearly injured, and I guess he felt like he could stay out there, carry on. By the way, Jim Curtin said after the game that Wagner's injury, there's no twist or damage to the knee, just a bruise or a dead leg. Took him out for a precautionary reasoning, so it should be nothing to worry about in Kai. But yeah, it's crazy to me. It's like, as soon as they brought in Olivier Bizo to play as a right back, his natural position, they shifted Nate Harriel over to the left back from right back. Like, I swear, his first touch was a chance he created. And it's like, okay, this looks different. This looks promising. You bring Alejandro Bedoya onto the field too. And the chemistry between those two guys that played the last few seasons with each other, they're just used to the runs that each other are going to make. And it's like, wow, this is insane. You're not creating any chances or hardly any chances the whole game. As soon as you switch to the diamond, first touch of the game from Olivier Bizo, he creates a chance. And it's like, where was this? Where was this the rest of the game? I believe it was a pass into Daniel Gazdag. Daniel Gazdag had the first time shot, saved comfortably by the goalkeeper. But it's like, yeah, that's more like it. Keep Nashville pinned in their own area. They don't want to defend. They are panicking.
Yeah, at that point, that's where we looked at each other and said, that's more like it. Philly Union are now pressing, and they were turning the ball over in Nashville's own half. That's where these goals came from, by pressing and turning the ball over and then attacking Nashville. That's what they should have done in the first half. I mean, we can sit here and say woulda, shoulda, coulda. They done it and got away with the result. And, they'll be happy with that. But, yeah, it was a night and day, the difference of the first half and second half.
Yeah, completely. I mean, you saw all the chances that they created after they scored the goal. And I said to you, okay, the pressure's on. Like, it felt like there was maybe a missed opportunity within those 10, 15 minutes after the goal was scored. The Union should have taken advantage and got a second one because Nashville were panicking. And you're like, well, the later this goes on, could we see a 1-1 draw? And again, we were all saying we want 3 points because the 3 points were there for the taking. Like, this is a game you needed to win. You should have won. And the Union, to their credit, did ultimately win the game. It took them to the 90th minute, but they did get the winner. And Jim Curtin, the players are going to say, we don't care how we got it as long as we got it. But the fact of the matter is, the Union shouldn't have been in this position to begin with.
Yeah, that's like having a defender making a last-ditch tackle to prevent a goal rather than playing your game very well throughout the course of the game so that the opposition doesn't have a sniff on goal. So you'd rather, prevention is better than cure, as they say. So you'd rather play consistently throughout the course of the 90 minutes rather than, last-ditch kind of like tackle, metaphorically speaking. And that's what Philly did in the end. They got a last-ditch goal, which this shows how much Nashville do not like to defend, and they're uncomfortable defending because they had 6 defenders in the 6-yard box when Gazdag headed that ball right at the back on the far post, and he got that goal. I mean, that's how poor Nashville defending was.
100%. I mean, you saw the amount of chances the Union had off of corner kicks in the second half, or Jack McGlynn put a couple balls in there off of a free kick, and the Union were the first to get their head to the ball, and they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net until the very end of the game, which, again, credit to them. But Nashville struggled defensively. You go back to that Daniel Gaza goal, and I'll shout out my goals breakdown video on YouTube, youtube.com/freekickpod. You look at that defending, it's poor defending. Daniel Lovitz, the player who was marking Daniel Gazdag, misjumps his header, and now Daniel Gazdag has a free header. I mean, credit to him for finishing that. But he just stayed centrally. He backed up when he saw the ball was coming backwards, and to his credit, he kept his eye on the ball, and he's able to head it past the goalkeeper, who, by the way, Daniel Gazdag, 2 goals in his last 2 games. 2 goals now since his national team manager called him out for having a poor game in the last match out with Hungary. So did Daniel Gazdag take that to heart? Potentially. Julian Kranza now has 3 straight games with a goal, 8 in 8 matches. He looks like a player that's playing his way out of MLS 100%. Again, don't forget, teams can start talking to him in the summertime to get him in the wintertime on a free transfer. So we'll see what the future holds for Julian Carranza. But if he keeps playing like this, I think teams, especially a player that they can get on free, would absolutely take the chance in Europe on Julian Carranza. But yeah, I mean, just really poor defending overall by Nashville. And questions should be asked, why weren't you on the front foot the whole game? And I'm sure Jim Curtin would say, well, look, Nashville didn't really have any chances. It's because of our formation. I don't think it's that. I think it's because Nashville's just not a good team. They're not a good attacking team whatsoever. You saw that. They had no threats going forward. Hani Muhtar, who's supposed to be their playmaker, was absolutely shut out. And Jim would say, well, that was by design, which, okay, maybe part of it was. But for as good as you were defensively, why weren't you as good attacking-wise? And then it goes back to, Jim saying, well, the shaping, the players aren't used to the formation, blah, 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 blah. But look, you've got to, attack bad teams in the first half and not leave games all the way till the end.
One of the things that is worth pointing out is the last one that I saw Nashville against Portland, and then I saw them this weekend against Philadelphia Union. I've seen no improvement at all. I've seen no difference in play. So, managers that come to Nashville can say what they want, and take credit for what they've done tactically and stuff. But the truth is, Nashville, from what I've seen, they haven't improved as a team. If not, they're either the same or the worse. And so you've got to take advantage of that. You can't be coming to Nashville and playing 5 at the back, a low block, and not pressing the ball until they get to your 18-yard box. That's poor. I'd be having a go at my players for that. So I don't think it's acceptable. But at the end of the day, as you've said and as Jim Curtin said, they've got the victory and that's all that matters. But they got lucky this time. And for them to be the only unbeaten team in MLS, they got lucky to, this weekend.
They did. I mean, I think some fans are maybe harping on the undefeated thing a little bit too much, because if we go back to the Sporting Kansas City game, Bedoya gets a goal in the dying embers of the match on a play that shouldn't have happened. The referees award the Union a throw-in. The ball goes off of Mikau Ua. If that doesn't happen, then the game's over. But, credit to the Union for just taking advantage of opportunities until the game's over. And they've had a couple come from behind victories now, a couple come from behind draws. And Jim Curtin was asked about that mentality of the players after the game, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I give the players all the credit there. They have a ton of heart. They're never out of a game. They'll play to the final whistle. And again, it's been instilled in them. From minute 1 to minute 90, anything can happen, and we stick with things. Do we play perfect, beautiful soccer all the time? No, but at the same time, I think we do everything for the badge, for our fans, for the Philadelphia Union badge, for the city. And these guys give everything. And that's kind of ingrained in them now. They've been through the battles together. Don't underestimate the importance, too. As much as I hate losing, our one loss this year was, I'll just say, an ass kicking. And it was an ass kicking early in the season. And that is something that I think you can still find good in. You can have a little bit of a reset, not get too high, and realize that we need all 11 guys really working their ass off like they did tonight to get a win and get a result. So proud of the group. We'll stay undefeated, try and push this as long as we can. A lot of road games, which makes it hard, but we know after we get through these tough stretches, we'll be back in Subaru Park in front of our fans with I'll just say a heavy loaded home game schedule coming up.
Yeah, and I agree with Jim though. That's been the mentality of this club the last couple of years, where they don't give up until the game's over, and so it's evident in a couple of their come from behind victories this season, or a couple of draws that they've had. I mean, Nashville was a come from behind victory, a game that they shouldn't have been down in, and we don't have to harp on that anymore if you don't want to. But I think it does have to be said that this team just doesn't give up. I mean, fans were panicking after a couple of draws after some poor performances early on in the season in CONCACAF Champions League. And the game he's referring to there in the ass kicking, they lost 6-0 to Pachuca down in Mexico. And I do think that was a little bit of a wake up call. If you're not all on the same page, if you're not pressing, if you're not all in it together, you're going to lose. And in the first half, it looked like they weren't all in it together. And then it changed once they changed to the formation in the second half. And to your point, if Kai Wagner doesn't get hurt, how much longer does Jim stay with 3 in the back? I mean, I was pissed. I wanted Jim to make that change at halftime, and he stays with 3 in the back. And it's like, what are you seeing that makes it okay to stay in this formation? Because in the first half, I didn't see anything.
I mean, at one point, we were looking at each other thinking, why is Wagner still on the pitch? He can't even move, right? And we're like, he's injured, get him off. We were screaming, get him off, because there were all, at that point, the players were passing to Wagner. All his passes were backwards, not forward to, offensively attacking. So he'd get the ball, get wide, and because of his injury, pass it back again. And yeah, I mean, finally he took him off. He said as a precaution, but I'm glad he did. Like he said, if he hadn't, and Wagner said, no, I'm fine, I can stay on, we might be looking at a different result here today. But luckily for us, we haven't got a different result. We got the result that we wanted and we deserved, because Nashville, in my opinion, without any disrespect to them, they didn't deserve anything this game, And, I think Philly could have easily won that 3 or 4 if they were a little bit more aggressive on the ball and pressing the ball. Because when I saw Philly press the ball and turn the ball over and then attack, it looks so pleasing to the eye. It really suits them. Teams are scared of Philly when they do that. And that's how they need to be. That's my opinion. Obviously, other people can disagree with me, and that's fine. And it doesn't matter what me or you say, Jim Curtin will still do his own thing anyway. And as we said, as long as he's got the result, that's all he's going to care about. So, but yeah, I mean, we look at this in detail for a reason, and it could have easily gone another way. But Philly Union got the result they needed in the end.
But doesn't that tell you how poor Nashville was when Kai Wagner is hobbling on the left side of the field? Like, why wasn't Nashville attacking that side? They should have been all out attack on that side, like win the ball back and attack that right side of the field heavily. But no, they were just absorbing pressure, playing that low block, struggling to defend. It's like, what cowards? Like, if I'm a Nashville fan, I'm pissed. I'm pissed with the way that my team plays, especially at home. Why are you sitting deep at home? Like, that's the place where you should be attacking. You shouldn't be sitting deep at home.
Exactly. And it doesn't make sense. You know, you've got your home crowd, you've got your home advantage, you've got all your fans there. You should be on the front foot attacking, give people a good game of football to watch. And despite what the result might be, at least they can walk away and say, do you know what, we might have lost 1-0, but that was a hell of a game. And we played amazing. But can Nashville fans say that they played amazing walking away from that game? No, I don't think they can.
Yeah, I saw some Nashville fans say on social media, oh, we completely dominated the Union in the first half. And my argument would be, you didn't dominate at all in this game. Like, if the Union would have pressed you, you guys would have had no chances. Like, yeah, you guys had 7 corners in the first half, which was way too many. But if the Union actually would have pressed the ball, I guarantee you Nashville wouldn't have had all these corner kicks. They wouldn't have had those half chances that they had in this game. I mean, the goal shouldn't have even happened. If that ball is pressed, they're not scoring. Like, they offer nothing in the attack. And again, Jim's going to argue that, well, it's because of the formation. Okay, maybe. But then, as good as you were defensively, or you want to argue defensively, then why weren't you attacking that way as well? It makes no sense to me. But at the end of the day, you get the result. You get the 3 points. You remain undefeated. That's 3 straight wins now in league play. Sit you in second place in the Eastern Conference on 12 points. So you'll be happy if you're a Union fan with how they've turned this around since that 6-0 defeat against Pachuca. But before we end the podcast, Jem, unless there's anything else that you want to add about this game, we can certainly discuss that. But my question to you, one, is I know I asked you this last year, and maybe your answer remains the same. After watching that game, I'm curious your thoughts on where you would rank MLS, and I know it's just 2 teams that you're watching, but like, where would you rank that? Obviously, it's not as good as the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga. No, nobody in America would tell you it is, but like, if you had to compare it to another league, where would you say it is?
I would say Championship, which is one below the Premier League. I think that's fair to say, because the Championship, believe it or not, they've still got good quality teams and good quality players in the Championship. So that's what I would equate it to. I'd even argue to say some of the teams in MLS, like Philly Union, could probably be bottom half of the Premier League as well. So I'd say that'd probably bleed into there a little bit. So I think Philly Union, I think they'd be able to hold their own in the Premier League, but it'd probably be bottom half of the league. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, 100%. What Ernst Tanner, the sporting director, said, he said he compares MLS to the Championship. And I think you could make an argument that maybe some of the top teams in MLS could try to hold their own in the Premier League. I think you put an MLS team in the Premier League, and I think they're fighting relegation, if I'm being honest. And the same thing can be said about, you know, a Leeds United, Southampton United that play in the Championship. I think that they would wipe the floor with most, if not all, teams in MLS. I think those are good quality teams, and of course, we'll never know. But I was curious about your thought, because, you know, the question always gets asked of foreigners, you know, what you think of MLS play. And so I think that will make the listeners happy that you agree with Ernst Tanner. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, have we convinced you to be a Philadelphia Union fan yet? Is that your team now to follow?
Of course I am. You got me the top, which I appreciated. And it's an amazing top, by the way. Navy's my favourite colour. And I like the baby blue on it as well. So, and I've learnt the chants. So you can safely say that I'm a Philly Union fan for sure. So, yeah, you got one. Shame I can't convince you to be a Spurs fan, though, because you're already Man United. But maybe I can get you to change in time. I don't know. Especially with Ten Hag in charge. You know, maybe you could temporarily be a Spurs fan for some time, you know.
Well, they're 100% going to finish ahead of United this season. There's no denying that. And the longer that Eric Ten Hag stays at Manchester United, they're going to struggle, in my opinion. And I think Spurs will always be clear of them. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't like to ban hop when a team's playing bad. So I think that's just poor. When your sports team's in a bad run of form, whether or not it be for years or not, you know, I feel like you got to get through the bad times and enjoy the good times when they're there. But the good times don't look like they're coming anytime soon for Manchester United. But Cem, it's been a blast having you on the podcast and recapping our trip, your thoughts from the game. And for people who want to follow you, follow the club that you manage on social media, all that jazz, shout out Piccadilly. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, they'll find me on there. If they just type in Piccadilly FC on Google, they'll find me on all the social media platforms anyway. I'm just going to leave you this one thing before you call it a day, Toddy, and I'm going to say, Philadelphia Union.
Philadelphia.
There you go.
Yeah, it was loud. It was loud when we were doing that, so that was cool. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow @FreeKickPod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the Substack, thefreekick.substack.com. The YouTube account, youtube.com/FreeKickPod. We can get all the goals breakdown video. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I was looking forward to this. Like, I didn't want to rush our trip by any means because I wanted to enjoy that. But I was like, yeah, I cannot wait to get Cem on the podcast to talk about this game, to get the listeners in Philadelphia to hear you for the first time. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't thank you enough for coming over to America, coming to Nashville to meet up with us. And I'm glad that, you know, after all these years, we were able to make it work. I know last year, we tried to make it work with you going on your American adventure. It would have been awesome if I could have linked up with you, but we made it work this year. And now we can say that we met in person. It won't be the last. We're not saying it's going to be the last. So I feel like I definitely now have to go to Europe, and then you can come back to America. So we'll see how it works out. But thank you guys for listening to the show. Thank you, Cem, for just the trip and experience in Nashville. And with that said, my name is Todd, and this is The Free Kick Podcast.